right, we are going to continue in solving equations or systems of equations. We're going to do some problems by solving by substitution, and then we're going to solve by elimination. So let's start with this example right here. You've got a system 2x minus y equals -2 and y equals -2x plus 4. So we're going to go ahead and write that down, pause the video. So for solving by substitution, we know that y is equal to -2x plus 4. And so we can substitute that in. That's why it's called the substitution method for that y right there. So we're going to put in place of y, since y is equal to -2x plus 4, we can put that in here. One thing you really need to be careful with is you have to put the -2x plus 4 in parentheses. And so I'll show you why. So I have this 2x. I'm just rewriting this, but instead of y, I'm going to substitute in what y is equal to, which is -2x plus 4 in parentheses equals -2. That's just continuing on with that equation. We need to distribute this negative sign right here to both terms over here. So you can think of this as like, you can put a 1 there. It's like a ghost 1. We can distribute that -1 to both of these terms. So when you're subtracting a quantity, like in parentheses, you're going to have to subtract all the terms in the parentheses, which means really what subtraction means is to add the opposite. So here we go. So I need a pen. So we have 2x, and then distributing a -1 times -2x. It's a negative times a negative, so it's plus 2x. And then this -1 times the 4 is minus 4. And we have equals -2. We can combine our like terms, which is the x terms here. That's 4x minus 4 equals -2. And then just go ahead and keep solving for x. So we want to add 4 to both sides. And you get 4x on this side. -4 plus 4 adds to 0. -2 plus 4 is 2. And then if you divide by 4 to get x by itself, we get 2/4, or x equals 1/2. All right, so we have x equals 1/2. And now we need to find out what y is. We know what x is, so you can plug it into equation 1 or equation 2 to get your y value. Which one looks easier? I want you to think about that, but I'm going to go with equation 2 because it's already solved for y, and then I just need to figure out what that would make x. Since x is a fraction, I'm going to make this -2 into a fraction by putting it over 1, and then times 1/2 plus 4. These 2's cross out, so this ends up being y equals, multiplying across, they become, it's 1 over 1. So you have -1 over 1, which is -1 plus 4, and that equals +3. So your solution is an ordered pair. Remember, if you were to graph this, you're going to have intersecting lines, and the solution is that one point where they cross, and they cross at 1/2 and 3. So I'm going to check this answer by plugging in 1/2 and 3 into equation 1 and equation 2. To make sure I did it correctly. This is a really good idea to do, especially if you're taking a test before you submit your answer. So if I check 1/2, 3, I'm going to plug it in for x and y. I'll plug it into equation 1 first, and I'm going to go 2, and because this is a 1/2 that I'm going to plug in, I can take 2 and put it over 1 times 1/2. I'm putting 1/2 in for that x, minus, I'm going to put 3 in for that y. Does that equal -2? Well, 2, half of 2 is what that really means, is 1. So 1 minus 3, does that equal -2? And yes, it does. 1 minus 3 is -2. So then I'm going to check it into equation 2. So I'm going to put 1/2 in for x and 3 in for this y. So I have 3 equals -2 over 1 times, put in 1/2 for this x, plus 4. Are those equal? That becomes 1 over 1, so that's negative, but this negative makes it a -1 plus 4. -1 plus 4 does equal 3, so we did it right. All right, so this one, if we solve by substitution, notice that neither of these equations is solved for either of the variables. So what you want to do to solve by substitution, if it's not already solved for one of the variables, you want to pick one and solve for one of the variables, either x or y. And to me, it looks like equation 1 would be pretty easy to solve for x. So I'm going to do that. If it's difficult to solve for x or y, then the substitution method is probably not the one you want to use, and we're going to look at that in a minute here. Okay, so I'm going to solve for x by adding 2y to both sides. So I end up with, on this side I have x, and it equals 2 plus 2y. So that's equation 1, but just rearranged so that it's solved for x. So since x is equal to this, 2 plus 2y, I can substitute it into equation 2 for that x. So I'm going to do that right underneath here. So instead of x, I have 2, x is equal to 2 plus 2y. So I'm throwing that in place of that x. I don't really need the parentheses. I'm just trying to show you that that's what I'm replacing x with. Plus 4y equals 8. Now I have an equation, one equation with one variable, and I can solve for y. So 2, I'm going to get rid of these parentheses. I could rewrite it, but we don't need the parentheses because I'm not multiplying that quantity by anything. So I'm just going to get rid of them. So I have this 2y and 4y that are like terms. So that's 6y equals 8. 2 plus 6y equals 8. Then I'm going to subtract 2. I'm going to move over here. I get this side, the 2's disappear, they add to 0. So I have 6y equals 8 minus 2, which is 6. Divide by 6, and we get y equals 1. These require some work. So when you get one of the variables, I put it in a box or something, but you're doing it online. However, you should use scratch paper to work these problems out. So you get y equals 1. Now, if I know that y equals 1, you can plug it into equation 1 or 2, or you can plug it into this rearranged equation, which is going to be the easiest, because it's solved for x. So if I put 1 in here for this y, I can get my x. So x equals 2 plus 2 times 1. 2 times 1 is just 2. So 2 plus 2 is my x, which is 4. So my solution is 4, 1. And you should go ahead and check that into equations 1 and 2 to make sure that that is indeed correct. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to move on to this example that has decimals in it. So, but if you're, you should pause the video and do the check and then see if it works, and then come back and do example 9 with me. Okay, so example 9, equation 1 is full of decimals. Equation 2 is solved for y. So we're going to want to take this and put it in for y. But if you don't want to deal with the decimals, you don't have to. You can get rid of the decimals. There's 2 decimal places in each of these. Well, this really only has 1 decimal place because the second decimal place is a 0. We don't really need to write it. But this one has 2 decimal places. So if you want to get rid of all of the decimals, we can multiply everything, every term by 100. And all it's going to do is move the decimal over 2 places. So if I multiply by 100, I get 5x plus 10y, because moving this over 2 places would be 10y, and then move this over 2 places, you get equals 140. And you could do, there's all kinds of things you could do. You could divide by 5 now, because each of these is divisible by 5, and as long as you do the same thing to both sides, it's going to work. But you don't have to do that. You might not have seen that, and you might not want to do that. You don't have to. You can substitute in this 18 minus x for this y at this point. If you did divide everything by 5, it just makes the numbers a little smaller to work with. All right, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put 18 minus x in place of y, and that will allow me to solve for y, or x, I mean. Okay, think about what you have to do first. Why don't you try to solve for x on your own and come back and check your work. You're going to want to distribute the 10, which is 10 times 18 is 180, and then 10 times that negative x is minus 10x and equals 140. 5x minus 10x is negative 5x. They're on the same side of the equal sign, so I'm going to combine those terms. Plus 180 equals 140. Subtract 180. Subtract 180, and I get negative 5. Why do I have a negative? Oh, because I did 5x minus 10x. So it's negative 5x. This adds to 0, 180 minus 180. And then this 140 minus 180 is negative 40. Divide by negative 5. Divide by negative 5 on both sides. And I get x equals, a negative divided by a negative is positive. 40 divided by 5 is 8. X equals 8. So then we can put that back in to solve for y here. We're going to put 8 in this x, and we're going to find out what y is. So y equals 18 minus 8, which is 10. So y is 10. And so my solution is 8, 10. Do not, you have to write it in the right order. It's an ordered pair. It's got to be x and then y. So 8, 10. Again, I'm going to skip the checking so that we can get through more problems, but you should stop it and check to see if it's correct. Okay, so this one is also, it's not solved. It's like 2 examples ago when we don't have x on one side by itself or y on one side by itself. And when that happens, there's another method that you can use called elimination. And what we're going to do is we're going to eliminate one of the variables, which is why it's called elimination. So what you want to do is you want to get, and this is, you want to use elimination when you have your x's lined up, your y's lined up, and your constants lined up, and it's not solved for one variable or another. Get rid of that. Okay, so, and then what you need to do is we want to drop out one of the variables. So we want that we're going to add them together. We're going to add each column together, all of the like terms together. And in this case, I don't have to do anything first, and I'll show you why. I'm going to add the x terms together, I'm going to add the y terms together, and I'm going to add the constants together. So what is negative x plus x? The reason I don't have to do anything is because negative x plus x is going to eliminate the variable x, because negative x plus x is just 0. So this is 0. You don't need to write the 0. And then the next column, I have negative y minus 2y. So this is a negative 1 minus 2 more will give me negative 3y equals, and then 4 plus 8 is 12. So I have negative 3y equals 12. I don't need the 0 because 0 minus 3y is just negative 3y. So to solve that, it's negative 3 times y. I'm going to divide by negative 3. I'm going to get y equals 12 divided by negative 3, which is negative 4. And then you can pick either equation 1 or equation 2 and plug in negative 4. And there's not one that's really easier than another in this when it's the elimination method. I'm going to do 2. I'm going to use equation 2. So I have x, I don't know, minus 2 times, in place of this y, I'm going to throw the negative 4 in there. So I already know what y is. And then I get x, and that's plus, minus 2 times negative 4 is plus 8, because you got a double negative there. And to solve for x, you're going to subtract 8, and you get x equals 0. Again, I'm not going to check it, but you should, just to get in that habit. I just want to make sure we get through several examples. So the solution is 0, negative 4. All right, so solving, I'm almost out of time, so I'm gonna do a third video with, or is it the fourth? I don't even remember. So another video on solving by elimination solely. So if you're wanting more examples, and this one's just got the fractions in here, I'm gonna clear the fractions and I'll show you how to do that in the next video.